Welcome to the Gridiron Insight. I'm your host, Marcus Dent, aka Big Cuz, and I got couple of special guests with me tonight. That's always hanging around talking a little college football, and that's Jason Watkins from the Hall of Fame College Football and Mikel Stevens, guys. What's going on, guys?
What's up? What's up?
What's up, big
Oh,
cuz? Mikel, how we doing?
All right. What's going on,
Mikel,
fella?
Mikel, you've been busy, man. Y'all been busy. Hadn't got you on the show in a couple of weeks, man. We're glad to have you back, bro.
Man, happy to be back, man. It's been a whirlwind, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Hey man, I definitely understand that, man. That's a part of it when you have a student athlete, man, and you got to make these visits and different things. I know y'all got camps and stuff coming up, man. So, I know y'all gonna be pretty busy, man. And Jason, on your end, man, it's like an everyday thing for you now, man. So
Well, hey,
seeing you here and there,
man,
you got the shed back popping and everything, man. I'm gonna have to do something behind me, man. You you making me look bad, bro.
well, listen. I mean, when you're without a job right now, you kind of in between. You got some shit to do. You gotta get
Hey,
it
hey,
done.
I hear you, man. I
Start
hear you.
pumping out content, bro.
Hey, look, before we go too far into this show, man, y'all hit that like button, subscribe. That helps us out, help us keep this content coming to you for free. And tonight, rather, um, we're gonna talk about a few things that's going on pretty close around here, man. That's the quarterback situation in Mississippi State. Everybody know Kamario Taylor is a hell of a talent, and right now, man, he's pushing. He's pushing that number one spot, man. And a kid of that type of athlete, if you look at him, to me, he's a Cam Newton type version kid. I mean, he can run, he can throw. Um, he was number 8 quarterback coming out of the in his class this coming up year, man. And along with Deuce Knight, and this is the first time Mississippi has had two premier quarterbacks in a long time. I can't remember the time that Mississippi had two quarterbacks like this. I mean, two five. Well, he's not a 5-star, but he should have been a 5-star if you ask me. Um, but Jason, you know a lot about Leb. You know about how he, what type of quarterbacks and stuff that he's had over the years, man. And you know what type of offense he runs. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people they cool with him. But I think the offense that Leb run and
The Bear
having
Raid.
Kamario, having Kamario in that system, man, I think he's going to be dangerous, and I think it's going to come to a point. I think sometime during the year that I think Kamario is going to command to be on the field.
Listen, Kamario Taylor is all that and a bag of chips. You watch him. You watch his highlights all the way back to his sophomore year. The kid has pretty much everything. And I was talking to you yesterday off the air, and the guy is like, for as tall as he is, being 6'5", like he's fluid in his in and out of his breaks, and he throws a great ball. I mean, he
Yeah,
throws it, whether it's a lot of layered passes and stuff like that, but he never seems to get too rattled. He's got tight spiral. He throws guys open. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. The guy that's there from Baylor, he ain't.
Shapen
To
in it.
me, Blake Shapen is a backup to me in this
Yeah.
situation. This guy's too dynamic to keep him out for too long.
Well, here's the deal. We had a situation, um, last year with playing a true freshman, which was Michael Hawkins at Oklahoma, and I think sometimes that kid need a little bit of time.
Uh,
And I'm not saying that Camario, if they give him the reins, give him the keys tomorrow, that he can't drive the car. But sometimes you got to give him a little bit of time to get acclimated to everything that's going on. And I think if Blake doesn't show up these first 2 or 3 games, I think it's real easy to say, here you go, here are the keys. I'd rather lose with this freshman than be getting my butt kicked with a 5th or 6th year senior. I don't know how many years he done played, but that's just my opinion with it. Looking at some of the highlights from the uh, the spring game, him and Chafin was right there together when it comes to yards, but he threw a nice touchdown nice touchdown pass to Aiden Williams, who just, transferred from Ole Miss that went and got it. So those are things, man, that I see with him and being able to move. Now, I'm not just talking about somebody that I just started watching. I've been watching this kid since he was 7 when he was playing with the Knox County Broncos. So I've been watching him a long time. His head coach Teddy was actually a youth coach, before he got before he went back to school and got his certification. So they were able to do some magical things down there in Knox County. And I've watched him grow from the first year he came to the Southern League down in Hattiesburg. Dude, this kid has just grown every year. And that's the thing that I like to see with a quarterback. There's right now, he's steadily going up. The same way with Deuce Knight. I saw Deuce do pretty much the same thing, man, but Deuce was a little bit more advanced. But this kid right here just, if you want to talk about getting it out the mud, this kid, he got it out the mud. Because he went from 2 years ago to nobody knew who he was to being one of the top kids at the Elite 11. So what do? Do you set this kid, or do you give this kid the keys to the car and say, hey, look, we're going to win, lose, draw, whatever, with a kid that's from 15 minutes down the road? I think Leb got a hard decision,
Well,
coming in.
let me ask the question. Can I just to me, I always look at it this way. Okay, who's gonna give you the best chance to win, number one? And if you know that coming in, you didn't really win a whole lot of games a year ago. We kind of talked about this morning on my show, and Billy Napier was probably going to get fired last year if it hadn't been for what they saw out of DJ Lagway. Yes. They had a good defense. They had this, they had that. But if not for seeing DJ Lagway and thinking, oh man, we don't want to fire Billy and not have this guy back in the fold next year. It almost feels like, and I'm not saying that Lebby's on the hot seat or anything like that, but you want to me, unless you see Blake Shapen come in and light it up immediately, I don't think that the leash is very long. Do you?
I don't. I think, number one, I think Mississippi State got a steal in getting him because, like I say, I think Georgia came in right at the end and wanted him, and Mississippi State was able to hold on. I don't know if they would have kept him if the quarterback that went to LSU, if he had stayed, I don't know if they would have got him. I think there were some things that had to happen for that to go the way it did.
6'4", got speed, got a big arm. Mikel, what do you think?
I say roll with him and shake the dice, because the team is still young, and take a good look at the schedule and weigh it out from there. And it's still a lot of time left for a lot of competing, over the summer going into the fall. So it's still a little time. You saw what you saw, but they got a lot of young pieces that I like. I was impressed with Aiden Williams. To be honest with you. And I've been waiting to see Aiden Williams play for a long time. He was up at Ole Miss. They didn't use him. State put him to work immediately, and it's the kid I saw originally high. So, they got a lot of young pieces. Stunker, I know we're talking about the quarterbacks and all, but they're young. So I say put them out there young, take the lumps and just keep moving. But they still have time, between now and the start of the season.
Well, when you
go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you look at Jeff Lebby, one thing I know is that, Brent Venable's first year at Oklahoma, the defense was definitely in a bad place because of where it got kind of left by Lincoln Riley. He comes in, he's got a top 15 offense immediately. The next year they go to top 5 scoring and total offense as well. So when you have a quarterback and you've got some receivers and having a guy like Aiden Williams and he's going to have multiple guys that can make plays, right? and I think that there's something to be said for it's the Art Briles offense. You know, they know exactly what they're doing and how they want to do it. They want to keep pressure up as far as the tempo is concerned and stuff like that. I think the main thing to me is how do they progress on the defensive side of the ball? They had a young guy in there a year ago, first time calling plays. Is that, what are they going to, are they going to take a step forward there? But I would tell you that offensively, you should expect them to probably take a step forward this year.
Well, then you bring in Phil Longholt, man, who was a great, offensive line coach. He was a great player, At one time, he was the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL, man. He's one of those guys that the kids really listen to and buy into. And I think Mississippi State just got another portal addition on the O line. There's a kid from Brandon, Mississippi. I think he's from Brandon, Canton or somewhere like that. But he was at Purdue. Now he's back at Mississippi State, and he's 6'6", like 350, and that's SEC size. You know what I'm saying? So those type of additions to the offensive line, to the receiver core. You got Brandon Thompson that was at OU, was one of our leading receivers last year. You got him, who is a show enough burner when it comes to speed. So I think Leb has a lot of good talent. Like you said, the biggest question mark is on the defensive side of the ball. But do you say, hey, look, I'm just going to ride or die with Taylor? Because if you don't, and you end up, losing, I think they won 2 games last year, something similar to that. So, I mean, what do you lose by playing the freshman?
Well,
I don't think you lose a whole lot.
Well, they got a favorable schedule. They open up against Southern Miss, and then it gets tough from there with Arizona State, and then they got
Arizona State beat them. Arizona State beat them last
year. Yeah,
and won the Big 12. So Arizona State,
team.
Playoff team. Yeah, you're right. So so that's kind of different for them.
Then you follow that with Alcorn and Northern Illinois, and then you jump into Tennessee. So it's not a bad gamble.
Yeah.
With that type of schedule.
If you're gonna play him, do you go ahead and play him early so he can get his feet wet against some of these softer teams? If I got 2 kids and I got a quarterback that's a true freshman, and I got a senior, and there's no difference in them, man, I gotta play that freshman. Because I think he gives me the better chance to win with his leg. Look what the kid did last year, Van Buren, whatever his name was. Hate to butcher the kid's name, but anyway, that kid didn't do bad as a true freshman himself, and I just don't think he's the athlete that Kamario Taylor is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see the Cam Newton type physicality in this kid and the arm and everything. He's like that's if I had a comparison, that's who I compare him to. He's long. He can put his foot in the ground and change direction to be as tall as he is. Jason talked about that at the beginning of the show, and that's just why I see that's the comparison I see him to is Cam Newton. And I'm not going to say he's going to do exactly what Cam did, but that's the type athlete that that Mississippi State has. And
I agree.
if he comes, he
probably
plays
a little
well.
more polished as a passer than Cam was at this point, though.
Yes, too. Yeah, I think so, because Cam didn't really play until he was a junior,
right?
And this kid's
he was never the best passer in the world. He could pass, but he's not. I mean, this guy looks like he's pretty polished at it at this point. Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the era that we're in too. It's 7-on-7 and everything else. So these kids understand. They read defenses, coverages, everything else like that. But yeah, I agree. I think he's right there. But if you look at their schedule, I mean, let's say they lose the Arizona State game, and that's a possibility, but not necessarily a guarantee.
Yeah, and they come to Mississippi State this year.
They're at home.
A little different. So
you should get into the Tennessee game with no more than 1 loss. So you should be at worst 3-1 coming into that. Tennessee, we don't know what they are.
Don't
That's
know.
also in Starkville. You know,
So
we
yeah,
don't know what Tennessee is because they didn't get a lot of guys with experience back. They're replacing most of their offensive line. They're all new receivers, now new quarterback, and they're retooling that defense too. I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility if you can go out there and put up 28, 35 points that you can't win that game? I
win that game.
yeah.
That's that Tennessee game at Start Vegas is a very winnable football game.
Yeah.
It's a very winnable football game, especially now. We know everything that's going on in Tennessee, but this is something that people do not understand how that can affect your locker room. That situation that happened up there, it didn't just affect, the fans, and it affect a lot. It will affect that locker room because guess what? You probably got some Nico guys up there like that was my guy, and y'all did him like that.
I don't think even most Tennessee fans that are, I mean, I think they're a little off, about how good they think they are, but most
No,
of them
I'm
know
I'm
that
not.
they're not going to be as good as they were with Nico.
No, they're not. They're not. Now, especially when you got a guy who this would have been what his second or third year in the system.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes a big difference. You bringing in somebody who completely does not know the system,
Well,
and
but
he
and
has to learn it.
you need to win that one too, though,
Yeah.
because look at that. After that, you got on the road at A&M, on the road in the swamp after a bye week, and then you're home to
Mm.
Texas, on the road at Arkansas. Arkansas may be another win. Then you got Georgia. I mean, you've got
It get bad. It gets really bad.
I mean, I
It's
think that
just
you need
easy
to win the
there.
games that you got a chance to win. So, you got to put it on Tennessee if you possibly can. Texas A&M, that's a tall order, I think, to win that one on the road. You ain't beating Florida probably in the swamp. You're probably not beating Texas, no matter if it's home or not. Now, then again, though, Texas got a lot of new faces too, and they gave them a little bit of a problem last year too.
Yeah, they put up
I
some
would
good
tell you I
points on
still
them.
think Texas wins, but if you could win Arkansas, maybe win Mizzou, and win that Tennessee game. Now you're building towards something going into a year 3 with a coach. You can't afford to go with 2 wins again, for sure.
So my thing is, with that schedule, what you're looking at, if you got two quarterbacks that you feel like is on the same level, but your younger guy got better legs and give you a chance to win, who do you play?
The younger guy.
You play Kamario Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got guys like Aiden Williams that's going to make plays. You got a speedster in Brendan Thompson that that's fast as hell. You got some other pieces that you guys got, have put together over there. I mean, I think if their defense is worth anything, a lot of people say, well, I don't see but 2 wins. State could win 5 ball games next year. I don't give a dang what nobody say.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
Yeah,
Sooner Texas saying ideally you play him early and often, but you have to be on alert with his confidence. That tells you that that's a Sooner fan because he's thinking about Jackson Arnold not having any
yeah,
confidence.
and look, and he's right though.
Yeah,
He is absolutely right. You have to. That's a very tedious thing. When you playing a freshman, is worrying about his confidence and where his mental is. He can have all the tools, but if the mental is not there, if he loses that mental edge against one of these teams early, then you got a problem. It's hard to hit the reset on that. So that's why, I'm saying, hey, look, ease him in. That's my thing. I feel like you should ease him in, but definitely he should get some burn,
yeah.
some packages or something from the dough.
All I
I
know
think
is
he
if
should
you
have
get a
some
loss
packages.
against Arizona State, I mean, I would tell you that the hook on Blake Shapen for me is short. You lose that Arizona State game and you don't look good in that Arizona State game, and
Right.
that's at home.
That's at home.
I'm probably done with you.
Yeah. They gotta win that one, man. They gotta win that one. I don't
You
know how
start off
good
4-0.
Arizona
You
State
start
is
off
gonna be.
4-0, and he's been. I mean, we've seen Blake Shapen play fair at Baylor at times, for the most part. When he came in mop up or in backup duties, things like that. That year, that when they
Well,
still had when he was the backup guy, but he would come in certain situations because he was a better thrower than I think it was what was that dude's last name?
I can't
Ended
remember
up
his
going
name.
to USF and then BYU. But anyway, you know,
I think Blake last year had 900 yards
he
passing
was hurt
before
a
he
lot,
went out.
right? Right, he was
Yeah,
hurt a lot.
he was hurt. He got hurt, and that's how you got Van Buren. I mean, so I think he went out maybe the fourth game. He had like 900 yards, so he was slinging the football. You know, but like I say,
He was turning the ball over too, bro.
yeah, he was turning the ball over. But Kamario gives you a little bit better out with being on the edge. Now, what you're gonna do? Are you gonna come up? If you come up, you saw in the high school film what he's gonna do. He's gonna let it rip
Yeah,
because he's looking down the field the whole time. So I just, me personally, man, I think, I think the kid is going to do well. You know, at Mississippi State, under Levy's system.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think you give him the job if it's close. I think you give him the job if it's close, and if it's a situation where you want to start Blake, you still have some packages where you bring him in the football game because you're not planning on redshirting this guy. So you bring him in and you give him some different packages that he can be comfortable with and go out there and execute those things and help him build confidence. So if Chafin does go down or it's a time where you got to pull him, he already has some confidence from playing in some of these earlier games. So I say at least give him a couple of packages, give him a couple of series in all of these games if you're not going to start him.
Yeah, and I guess
the safe way of doing it. Give him some packages
go ahead,
and bring him up kind of slow because again, you don't want to ruin, his confidence, and then you also want to get the senior. You still want to get that senior opportunity, so to speak, but on a short leash because you got some talent in waiting. But looking at this schedule, man, after those first 4 games, this schedule is brutal.
It's brutal, man.
I mean, brutal. You can sit here and say what you want about Tennessee, but that's not going to be an easy game.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I just think that they're in transition too. Is all I meant.
Yeah, they're in transition, locker room wise, quarterback wise. It's a lot of turmoil going on. You just don't.
I don't think it's a lot more winnable game than it was 2 weeks ago. Right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I would love to see what the odds are right now on Tennessee compared to what it was before.
They dropped at least one game right away, and I don't know what I mean. And look, I think that they got a decent guy to come in and his play. I mean, it was basically a trade. The kid from UCLA that was at Appalachian State. He's got like almost 7,000 yards in his career. Throws a pretty good deep ball. Throws a pretty good deep ball, which is something that they haven't been able to do in Knoxville for a while. Mm-hmm. But again, you got all new skill guys, you got all new offensive line, and they're retooling the defense. I mean, this is a true transition season for Tennessee, which, I mean, we talked about, is that why they decided, well, we don't want to pay extra $2 at all, even. Maybe they didn't want to pay what he was already making to Nico, knowing that, are they going to get back to the playoff? I think a lot of people are acting like they're going to be that good. I'm not sure that they.
No, I don't really think they're going to be that good. Some of the, everybody's fans are delusional.
Yeah, it's spring, bro. Everybody's undefeated.
Hey, Vanderbilt said they're going undefeated. So everybody's delusional right now.
Yeah.
So that's just something that you have to look at, man. But I can say right now in the state of Mississippi, man, the quarterback play hadn't been this good in a long time, and want to kind of shift gears just a little bit to Deuce Knight at Auburn, hearing the same things about Deuce. Is Jackson Arnold going to be able to hold that job? Because one thing Jackson Arnold has had for the last 2 years, he has had somebody looking over his shoulder. And right now, you got a guy that literally you need to be looking over your shoulder because he can take your spot. I mean, and the same thing with him, the same thing lies with Kamario. How much time do you give him with him being a true freshman? When do you make that pull? Do you start him right out and let him get in that fire and just get baptized and go with it? I think Hugh Freeze is in a little bit more of a hot seat than than um than Lebby is. I
You did
think
say something
everybody in
about
Mississippi.
delusional fans, didn't you, just now?
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is with Leb, man, everybody knows the shape the program was in when Leb got there. Nobody's calling for Leb head because it was horrible. Arnett ran it completely in the ground. He ran it in the ground before he left, and players got up out of there.
He only got 2
Um,
years, didn't he?
no, he only got 1 year. He finished out with him, and then the next year he came back and was horrible.
Yeah.
So because 2024.
Oh, no. We're talking Auburn?
Yeah, I'm talking about Leb, you
Led with
know.
Zach Arnett.
Yeah. I'm just talking about what was left when Leb got there.
Yeah.
So that's a situation, but I think Hugh Freeze is more on the hot seat than Leb right now because they have spent a lot of money, guys, at Auburn. Go back and look and see what they have
He's
done
definitely
in the train.
recruiting well. He's
He's
definitely
recruiting. He's recruiting like a damn madman. They're not being able to get the wins, and I think it's quarterback play. If they get the right quarterback play, Auburn will be Auburn again. I think the defense is not that bad. You got a hell of a receiver in Coleman. I mean, that kid's the truth. We all know that. If they get the right quarterback and they're clicking, Auburn could be trouble. And if they start Jackson and he doesn't do really well before that fourth game, before he comes to Oklahoma, I think he'll be in the portal because he's going to try to get back 1 year. If he's not the guy this year, he will hit the portal early and opt out so he can get one of his years back. I can see that happening with him.
The
Quick.
crazy thing is when you got Jackson. I mean, you went and paid, and they paid over $2 million from what we hear, $2.5 million for Jackson. But you not only do you have Cam Coleman, you went out and got Eric Singleton Jr. That's somebody we talked about a lot at Oklahoma.
From
Oklahoma,
Georgia
coming
State,
from Georgia Tech. That guy,
Tech, right?
That guy is dynamic.
Yes.
So he's going to be your Z guy. And I didn't think that they used their running backs near enough like last year, but
oh yeah,
again,
this is dog, man.
One thing I'll say about
Another
Jackson is he
stiff
doesn't have any excuse to not be able to go out there and perform at this point. They have a good offensive line. They can run the ball. I mean, I think that a lot of people are looking at their game in week 4 that you're talking about with Oklahoma as an underrated early season matchup because there are some pieces at Auburn. They're going on the road to Oklahoma and having to deal with the crowd at Oklahoma and everything else, plus that defense. But I would just say this. I think you're right. I think that Hugh, and on top of the fact that Auburn expects you probably a little more than they probably should. We just talked about delusion, probably a little more than they should. But look, they expect you to go out and win. And be able to and right now is the time that you should be able to catch up with Alabama if you're Auburn, if that's their feeling anyway.
Well, you're looking at the recruiting wise, they ought to be right there with them. But here's the thing, Jason. Do you pull Jackson and bring a true freshman into the Palace to play Oklahoma? I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't have tape on the guy though.
You wouldn't have tape on him. You're absolutely right on that. But that defense that Brent has, he's gonna throw the damn kitchen sink at a freshman. He's gonna be like, man, where the hell did soap come from? I mean, he's gonna get everything in the kitchen, bro.
Let me just say this. There's at least you have the element of surprise with that, and a kid that isn't. You said yourself he was on your 7-on-7 team, and the kid was a dog.
Yeah, he was good, man. In 8th grade.
Jackson's more of a feline than a dog. You know what I mean? I just don't. I'm just saying.
Oh man, he had to go there. He had to go
He's
there.
afraid of a defense that didn't get to hit him in Oklahoma last year. So he knows what's coming from that other side. I think that I don't know, man. I'd probably roll those dice if I'm Hugh. I don't put Jackson in that game. I as an Oklahoma fan, I hope they do. But but you know, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, those two kids, man, you know, like I say, I haven't seen a 1-2 punch quarterback deal come out like those. And there's another kid, the Beeman kid that went to Tulane from Cleveland Central. Man, he's a dog. So it was a lot of quarterbacks in Mississippi that, you know, I was kind of, long as I've been doing this and watching high school football, I've never seen this many quarterbacks that were that damn good come out of the state of Mississippi. And Mississippi State wanted to sign the kid that went to Tulane, but they had Kamario already. And they still had, if they knew that other kid was leaving, they might have took 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But because
Van Buren with Van Buren going to LSU, and that's the thing, he had a hell of a year, really. I mean, they gave Georgia all they could handle, and that was on the road.
Well, the thing about it was, from what I heard from some people in the camp, and Kimberly K, we appreciate you dropping by. But you know, what I heard from his camp was when they found out that Jackson Arnold was about to visit, that did it for him, because he was about to visit. He was about to take a visit, and he got out, and he was like, "I'm out," because they're trying to replace me, you know, with an older guy. And then you still had Blake there. So, you know, and then you had a kid that's a hometown kid that's 15 minutes from the school, that only lives 15 minutes from the school. Guess what? He made the choice to go make more money and get the hell up out of there. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, if I was in his camp, that's exactly what I would have did. I would have got the hell out. You know, so I mean, and you look at no, you can't blame him. And you look at the deal now with Notre Dame and Deuce Knight not going to Notre Dame. I think he's in a pretty good spot, even being at Auburn. I really think he's in a good spot. I think he'll play quicker at Auburn than he would at Notre Dame. I think he'd get on the field a lot faster. You know, but the thing is what's going to happen when you do get on the field and you don't have the right, you know, people up there, you know, on that offensive line doing the things they need to do, then guess what? Yeah, you might be in a little trouble. But, you know, you got Jeremiah Wright. It was another Southern Elite kid that came to our camp, and he's one of the, I think Jeremiah plays guard now. But he's been there. He's a 3-year starter. You got him back. They shipped a couple guys out and brought a couple guys in. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Auburn has the talent. There, you know, nobody's really talking about them, and it all depends on their quarterback play, because Auburn can run the football, gal. They can run the football. They're proving that year after year. They, even when they're bad, they still can run the football. You know, so I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how these two kids pan out.
You look at their line is stacked with seniors and juniors, man, on that offensive line. So
man, I'm telling you, man, it's you know, that would be the only thing that I say when it comes down to Jackson. Jackson, guys, he has to have confidence to play, and if those guys give him a little bit of time, then he's going to make throws, because that's what he does when he has time and he's not scared to throw the football. But if you put pressure on him, he gonna throw that song on in the damn Okeechobee River. Shit, that's just what he does, man. You know, it is what it is with him, man. So that's gonna be the thing. And I know they're hoping that they can probably redshirt Deuce, which I don't think he would be opposed to it, because I give him more time and he's still making good money. You know, but I don't think Taylor gets redshirted at Mississippi State. I don't think that happens.
I also wouldn't. I don't know, Mikel, what do you think? Because I feel like you have to keep Deuce ready to go in case. I mean, look, man, and not to just pile in on Jackson Arnold, but we watched this cat not get it done with a
Well,
freshman
I
behind
knew
him.
that was
I would
coming,
say
man.
this. For me, I think Duke should have stayed at Notre Dame, first of all. But aside from that, if I'm going to leave Notre Dame and go to Auburn, I should be expecting to start. Let's just say it is what it is. He
Especially
should
with the
be
amount
going
of
to
money
Auburn
they
to
gave him,
start.
right?
What's that?
Well,
Especially with the bag they dropped on him.
That's what I'm saying. So what are we waiting on? What? So we know the leash is going to be short because
it's going to be very short.
he's going to be playing the second or third game, if not the first game. So I mean, if you're going to leave Notre Dame to go to Auburn, you should be starting. That's my look.
And somebody said it. Somebody asked in the chat, "Is he a, is he a pro set or he's a tweener. He can run. He's not the kid that wants to run, but he can run. He's not Kamario when it comes to running. Kamario can run. Yeah, but Deuce is 6'5" and he has long legs and he can get up out of there. He reminds me more of Nico in his frame. If you go look at his frame, he reminds me a lot of Nico. But I think Deuce has a good sense of feeling pressure. He don't take a whole lot of sacks, so he has a good sense of feeling pressure and getting rid of the football. That's one thing that he will do. He don't throw in a whole lot of double coverages and things like that because I guess it's training or whatever the situation is, but he makes real good decisions with the football. And from what I've seen, Jackson doesn't make those decisions. He doesn't make real good decisions with the football, And I think you're muted. Yeah.
I am. And you see Ashton Daniels obviously as shown as the backup. This is on our lads, not necessarily coming from the Auburn. Not that
Right.
they're going to give you their real depth chart anyway, but
Mm-mm.
Ashton Daniels coming in as a junior. He's just transferring from Stanford. Stanford was so bad. It's hard to really judge what he was, but you've heard a few things that he's looked pretty good at times as well. He's also has the ability to run a little bit. He only had 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions with 1,700 yards a year ago, but
12 interceptions.
That's only
He
played in 5 games. He only played in 5 games, but it wasn't.
Well, you're having a kid like him, you always need a safety net, pretty much, and just you need a kid like him on the roster, and I don't think he's going to be, number 2 when August and summer
He could
rolls
be.
around.
Well, he could be number 1, waiting for the young kid. If you talked about the options of does Jackson Arnold get in the portal? Hey, you're talking about guys in the portal. Malachi Nelson just left UTEP today.
Wow,
that's going to be 4 school. He's going to head into his 4th school in 3 seasons.
Oh man, here's the thing. If I don't think, the spring is over. He must have survived enough to think, okay, I won the job, because if he didn't, he would be in the portal right now. And that's Jackson Arnold. You know what I'm saying? So he must, right now he got to be the number 1, because you know him, his camp. If he's not number 1, he's not there.
I don't know, man. I've heard that you didn't have a single turnover from Deuce throughout the spring. Jackson had a number of them. How long is the leash? We'll just say what we said was shaping earlier. How long is the leash? Mikel said, he and Riley were this close, or maybe that's never mind. I'm not gonna say
that. Yeah, man. That's the thing, and being from Columbus and being 15, 20 minutes from Starkville, my dad is a Bulldog. He has been a Bulldog ever since I was a little kid, and especially when the Croom was there. Croom would come down to charity to the church, and so Dad got a chance to meet him, which is Croom was just a great person. I think he got a bad deal at the end there. But you know, State, I've always kind of followed State, and State got some really good players. They're just young, and I just don't know how long it's going to take, for them to get where they are. As brutal as the SEC is, that's the problem. Is how much how much how much beating up can a team take before a kid say, you know what, I'm sick of this crap. I'm going somewhere else. That's my thing. The patience right now with these athletes is very short. So, I think they tried to amp up the defense. They got a lot of defensive kids in because a lot of people was on Leb about getting rid of his defense coordinator, and he stuck it out with it. I think so we'll see about that. And offensive line wasn't very good. So he goes and steal Luke, big long hope, big Phil from Colorado. I think Dion was a little salty about that, but hey,
Mhm.
it is what it is. I'm kind of glad he's salty, but hey, I'm how I feel about Dion, so you know how that is. A lot of people go, hey, why you hating on Dion?
He's
Man, I
so
ain't
polarizing. He's one of the you either love him or you don't. It feels like.
and I don't.
I hear you.
So it is what it
We
is.
hear that. We know. We've heard.
I have. Here's the deal. I have nothing. Like, I hate this guy. I don't hate Dion because Dion has some very, very good ideas. It's just that the narcissistic type of attitude that he has sometimes that gets up under my skin.
Do I
And
take
that's
it that you're not a fan of the retiring numbers of his son and
hell
Travis
no.
Hunter there last week?
Yeah, man. But if Cordell Stewart number is not retired, how the hell you retire your son's number?
Yeah,
Cordell, did he not win? Did he not win a natty?
they should have. They should have at the very least been like, yes, he did, and they should have at least been like, we're
Cordell
gonna.
didn't win a national championship, did he?
I think he
Yeah.
did.
He
I
had the
think he
big
got
game
picked up.
against Michigan.
No, but I'm pretty sure he was either.
The
I'm
enemy
pretty
won the
sure he
national
was.
championship, right?
The
Yeah,
enemy
but they
won
was
the
on the same
Heisman.
team.
The enemy won the
But he won the
Heisman.
Heisman.
Let me see.
No, Rashawn Salam won the Heisman in '95.
Yeah,
I thought Colorado won it in like 91.
If they won it in '91,
that would have been him.
that would have been him. That would have been
Well,
Slash.
let's see. What you got, Jason?
I'm on it.
Well, regardless, he was a hell of a lot better quarterback than Shador.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Oh man, here we go.
Come on, man. No, there he was
Shador,
gonna play receiver when he came out. He was so good at quarterback.
I would say it's more economics
Bro.
why Shador numbers retired than anything else. Without Shador, Travis, Dion, Colorado, we wouldn't even be talking about them right now.
But
They probably
but
be in the they
but
probably
here's
be in
the
the
deal.
WAC conference
Do
or
you
something.
retire? Do you retire the number? Because Dion had a lot of other kids out there that was making plays too, bro.
Like I said it's economics.
Yeah.
They put businesses back in business
Well,
out of
look,
Colorado.
but check this out. Do you say, okay, you know what? I'm just not gonna get nobody else's number while I'm here coaching? He could have done that.
But the being who Dion is, as bold as he is, I don't expect nothing less.
But here's the deal.
Don't
If
retire
if,
his son.
if I come in and I unretired, then
No,
am I the bad guy?
that's not gonna happen. That's not
Well,
gonna
yeah,
happen.
you can view the head coach. You can unretire the number.
That'll start a shit storm.
Yeah,
So
he won the national championship with Rashawn Salam.
yeah,
27-5 overall in his career at Colorado. The all-time leading, I think he all-time biggest winner as a quarterback at CU. I mean,
but
yeah,
you
that's
don't
what
you
I'm
don't.
saying. When you look at, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that skill-wise that Shador isn't plenty good enough but they didn't have the same kind of team as they had back in those days either. So, by the way, and just to be fair there, I mean, you got to think about it. They won one damn football game the year before Coach Prime got there. One.
Daddy ball.
I don't care. They still won 9 damn games.
It is daddy ball. But look what financially what they've done is save Colorado football. Period.
So that's why you retire his number. You don't retire.
I did not say
retire his number.
You don't
retire his number because of his numbers are just that great. You retire
his numbers were very, very good. It's not about his numbers. It's about his win. He was 14-11 or 14-12 or something like that.
But you retire 14-11.
No, I just said you don't retire his number. I don't think that I don't understand why they're doing that. But but that goes to show you what you're talking about. The daddy ball and the nepotism stuff is a little weird. But now I would make the argument that Travis Hunter probably deserves to have his retired. Although I would probably still do this way down the line.
5 years from now.
10, 15 when they're done playing football.
Right. You know what I'm saying? At least a minimum of 5 years from now.
Yeah.
A minimum of 5 years from now.
Yeah, maybe if they've won a Super Bowl or something like that.
Normal way, right? But Deion is not normal.
No, you're right about that.
He loves his kids.
Talking in a conventional way, right? Deion does not do anything in a conventional way.
Sure.
So what do you expect? You expect something that's not conventional, and the East did that.
Here's my deal with that situation, and I'm gonna leave it be. A compound word, daddy ball. And that's it. That's it. You know, I'm not gonna say anything else about daddy ball in Colorado. Daddy ball is gone out of Colorado. Let's see what they do now. That you don't have Prince Shador.
I found that offensive, sir.
Well, I don't give a damn. But you know, you don't have Shador, you don't have Travis Hunter. You know, and now you don't have the glitz and the glamour that you had when you had those two. You had one of the best kids in the country. Now, don't get me wrong. We both know, me and you done been on the sideline against Juju. We know what he can do. We know what Lewis can do. We done both witnessed that shit in the damn national championship game when he beat our ass down there in damn Florida. But I'm gonna say this: he's not Shador when it comes to being flashy. You know, I mean, it is what it is. What did Kimberly Kay say? What did she say?
In the presser, Prime said the retiring of the jersey was someone else's idea on the staff at the university, and AD Rick George and Prime did agree. Look,
oh yeah, right.
I'll just say this: we're not CU fans. It ain't for us to decide this shit anyway. We'll put it there. But
it's just college football.
It's just worth talking about. And as an old Big 8 guy, fuck CU a little bit, but you know what I mean. No, most of us don't care about CU. No. I don't have a problem with Prime. In fact, I've got nothing but respect. The one thing you can say, I mean, I know people don't like the way he comes off. He's very divisive for sure. He don't lie to you about nothing.
Huh?
He doesn't lie, man. And you know what? He sticks to what he's gonna do, and they get better every year, by the way. You can say what you want to say. What? Because we like to move the goalposts for them, but they continue to progress.
Deion Pinocchio Sanders.
Yeah.
Hey.
Shots fired again.
Hey. You know, he got his degree from where, guys? Where did he get his degree from? I'm going to tell you. No.
I-20.
No, he didn't get his degree from Florida State.
He got it off I-20.
He got his degree from Talladega, HBCU over in Alabama. Hey, from I-20. So he was supposed to be the head coach there. So he gets his degree. They help him out. He get his degree. and then Jackson State job comes open, and he goes over there, and God sent me. This is where I'm supposed to be, and you know, um, you know, here he is, let my people go, and all that bullshit. And then all of a sudden, shit, he leaves and go to Colorado. So hey man, look here. And people in Mississippi, man, it's a split. It's a split and a divide in Mississippi when it comes to Dion. Hey, you walking around here hollering, let my people go, and you took your ass right on up the street with them. So that's just how I feel about it. Now I don't have a problem with a man bettering himself. You understand? Because when you came to Jackson State, you said, hey, look, I'm here to change the program. We're gonna make this a winning program, this, that, and other. Don't tell me you're gonna be here forever and then you leave. What did Tennessee State? What happened up there? Eddie George got there, he turned the program around, he left. It wasn't a big show and a big, shebang.
Talking about two different people, man.
I understand that. I understand we're talking about two different people. But yet and still it is what it is. And I'm not going to look, Deion Sanders, if you hear this, I have nothing against you. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't have to like everything that he does. And I can speak out about it.
You've got a dirty, whorish mouth. That's what you have.
Well, it is what it is, But like I say,
you're gonna get everybody in Jackson on your ass right now.
I don't care. A lot of Jacksonians feel just like I do.
I know that's true.
Deion Sanders is a bigger life.
No.
He is, bro. He's just he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT of his position.
I'm gonna give him that.
Right. And look, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't agree with everything Deion does. However, he took Colorado. They were dead in the water. Dead. Nobody, if Deion don't go to Colorado, they still dead in the water.
800% improvement in 3 years. 800% improvement.
They will be begging to get in any conference at this point.
Dude, I agree with you. I'm not sitting up here.
So economically, just the local businesses in Colorado, in Boulder, has benefited. The university has benefited.
Look, that was a great hire for them. I'm not saying he wasn't a great hire.
It's the best hire they ever made.
Mm-hmm.
He resurrected a program that was dead, like SMU was when they got the death penalty almost.
Okay, with them being resurrected, what was that record last year? What was it?
They made a bowl game.
They were 9-3 last year.
9-3. That's damn good.
That's a quick turnaround.
That's an 800% turnaround in 2 years.
Deion, congratulations.
So not only do you make an 800% turnaround,
but that don't mean I gotta agree with you. What you saying?
Yeah, I'm not telling you to agree with me, but I'm just giving you the facts that financially, economically,
and I'm not disagreeing with that.
But that's why he retired Shedeur and Travis Number, and nobody in Colorado has a complaint about that.
No, they shouldn't,
because everybody's
but the players who played there, and some of the guys who like.
But don't worry for everybody. If he loves you, you love playing for him.
Yeah. You like a Cordell Stewart, man. I mean, you don't do. I just think it's a slap in the face to him. And that's
I don't think that they should have even considered. I don't think they should have considered. Like in my opinion, you shouldn't have even thought about doing anything as far as retiring numbers without adding Cordell Stewart to that list.
Right.
Well, maybe Cordell should get a statue and his number.
Yeah. Well, Rasan Salam, when he passed away, they did his number, and then they, of course, his locker is forever staying the way it is. So.
Yeah, we're talking about a program that's inept until Deion got there.
That's true. No, and they
dropped the ball on everything.
They went from nobody watching to sold out long before the season in his first year.
They had us watching games at 12 or 1 o'clock at night.
They had you watching games.
So you didn't watch the Colorado
Oh,
State
no.
game.
Mm-mm.
Stop it.
I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't
What
got to
about
lie.
the Big Noon game?
Hey, look here, you better tell him.
What about the Big Noon game at 11?
Can't remember whether I watched
He's
it or
full
not.
of shit.
Can't remember whether I watched it or not. You know, hey, it is what it is, man. Look, I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna get off of this. I respect Deion, but I don't have to like him.
I found that offensive, sir.
It don't make a difference. It don't make a difference. So
Let's talk
You
about
know.
let's talk about somebody else who got everybody all in the twist.
Well, man, I
The
can tell you.
Iamaleava clan.
Yes,
The
yes.
Iamaleava clan, Arkansas
Won't stay money back.
wants some money back, man. Yeah, they're Madden Iamaleava, Arkansas demands $200,000 be repaid in NIL from Madden Iamaleava after he jumped into the transfer portal the other day, following his brother Nico to UCLA. Do they give him the cash back?
Well, here's my
I wouldn't
thing.
give nothing back.
Here's my thing. If it's not in his contract saying he had to play so many downs or anything like that before, you know, that money is, is literally his, then they set themselves up to get got, and they got. Um, I think he would have still been there if his brother was at Tennessee, but with his dad having to fly to Arkansas, and then now you got a son in UCLA, and they from Cali, it did make sense for him to go with his brother, and back him up. They Arkansas, I think you just got caught holding the bag, or that's empty. You know what I'm saying? You just got caught holding a bag that's empty right now. And it need to be some provisions for things like this. And that's why this NIL stuff is so crazy, because new stuff happens all the time. It's so new that anything can happen and be like, well, that had never happened before. There's no rules or regulations to protect the schools or the players.
I'm gonna say this. A lot of these schools got some damn audacity to ask for any damn thing back when they've been getting free money for over 100 years.
And be getting free money
It
for a long
really
time.
for 100 years.
Man, you think about the money that I'm gonna say that's a pioneer in this whole thing is Notre Dame. You think about the money, the TV money that Notre Dame has been getting for 30 years. For 30 years, guys.
They're
Well,
only making $10 million less right now from their deal at NBC, plus the money they get from the playoff. They get 1% of the playoff revenue every year, no matter what. Last year they got like 20 million from the playoff, but they get 10 million no matter what every year. They're literally 10 million behind over what they'll get at the Big Ten and SEC. The whole reason that we talk about that you're not going to see Notre Dame enter a league because they don't have to.
Because when they make it to the playoffs, that's money they
their
have to
endowment
split
is
with nobody.
$22 billion. $22 billion. They also have a huge deal with Under Armour. They've got, they get paid from the ACC for everything that they do with the ACC. I mean, they're doing fine. But a team like Arkansas, even in the SEC, we know that they had to pay Coach Cal a lot of money to go coach that basketball team over there. Now, the owners of Walmart and Tyson Chicken are in their pocket. So if you're the Iamaleavas, do you pay them back?
nah.
Also
doing business.
Hey,
with that family.
appreciate you. Appreciate you. And my granddad would say, "Appreciate you," and I'm out the door.
Appreciate
Appreciate you, and I'm out the door. I mean, look, I think Arkansas has this deal where they kind of give you some money up front or something like that. I think that's kind of what they do. It's kind of a little different than some of the other collectives, and I think they're going to change that after this deal. Of course, they probably got they probably have their legal team looked at it and say, hey, look, maybe we can kind of recoup some of this money. But I think it's going to be hard because those contracts are, it's not how many games you play. It doesn't say you have to play so many games. It just, it's pretty bland when it comes to some stuff like that. You just don't say, okay, you get paid, just like in the NFL or basketball, you get paid, a certain amount per game. It's not like that.
Right.
So if they gave him that money up front, almost like a signing bonus, pretty much, and he dipped, you just lost out. You shouldn't have gave that money to him.
Yeah, he finished off the spring. I mean, signing bonus.
Yeah, he
But
finished
here's
off
the
the
thing.
spring.
I will say this, and let me read part of this, what they were talking about on 3 with Pete Nakos. They talked about they sent 2 demand letters asking 2 players asking to fulfill buyout clauses. According to On 3's Pete Nakos. Let's see. Nakos reported it's related to 2 freshman transfers, one being Madden Iamaleava. According to Nakos, Arkansas is demanding roughly $200,000 back from him after he enrolled earlier this year and just spent a few months with the program. He reported Tuesday that NIL buyouts were coming from Arkansas. Athletic director Hunter Yurachek wanted those enforced following the transfers. He didn't choose to single out an athlete. Everybody knows that's who they're talking about. But most schools now include buyouts in their revenue share contracts, or in this case, what they're saying is it's NIL collective deals that are being transitioned into revenue share contracts for this summer. So these, right now it's supposedly, the NIL, but July 1st comes around and they've done the House versus NCAA, all that stuff where they've gone ahead and approved the settlement. Then it would turn it into a rev share contract. I don't know that it means what it means, whether or not you're going to have to do it or not, but it sounds like they're going to pursue legal action on it. Wisconsin DB Xavier Lucas had transferred to Miami over the winter without entering the portal, and the Badgers had argued that revenue sharing deal he signed included a clause. Wisconsin has since indicated it will pursue legal action. Whether or not you get it, who's to say?
Well,
Right?
let me ask you this, Jason. We talked just a couple weeks ago about the FCS schools,
Yeah.
getting some kind of buyout when these kids leave them. And no, they're not making that kind of money at those FCS schools, but you do have a few FCS schools that's just giving kids a little bit of money. So, if a school can put that in there, what about some of these other schools that these kids are leaving and going to these bigger schools? So
Yeah.
how does that affect, or will that ever affect?
Well,
Because
I think that there will be buyouts to these contracts because they have money invested in them. This is where I tell you all the time that I feel like you got to get into this collective bargaining where you have an actual contract that is binding, because as Kimberly K's talking about, she says it's considered fraud in most cases in other fields and professions. They'll need an attorney to tighten up the language. They're talking about this, that there's a couple of different ways they could do it.
Mhm.
You're hearing about this clearinghouse, which I don't think is a big thing. I know that
I don't
you've
think
got the
either.
smaller you've got the ACC and Big 12 people that are saying you got to do it. That's them trying to hang on to competitive balance of whatever they think competitive balance is. They're trying to hold on to that with dear life. It's not going to matter. That'll get challenged immediately, I believe. The first time they say that that's not a, quote, fair market NIL deal, it's going to go to court. So I don't really see that thing. But what you can do is apply for you can make them, either you turn it into collectively bargain their employees, which they do not want to do. And if they wanted to do that at the NCAA, it'd already be done.
That's not
Or
gonna
you're going to
happen
have
right
to find a way to do 1099 and still be able to, like the NFL does, to where you can't challenge every little thing, can't go to court. Because if they don't find a way to be able to we talk about guardrails and rules of some kind. If they don't find a way that they can put some of this into place, which would take collective bargaining, by the way, you're going to have to, in order for them to allow you to have any kind of ability to keep them from being able to sue you, they have to agree to that.
Yes.
Which is what
Yeah.
collective, you know what I'm saying?
That's something, Jason, we talked about.
Right.
I mean, that's something that I think is coming down the line maybe 5 years from now, once all this other stuff, all this gray area.
Can college
I just
football
don't think
last
it'll be
5
right
years,
now.
you say? Can they?
No. I think it's going to be some short guidelines coming pretty soon. I think
Again,
personally,
without collective bargaining of any kind, how do you enforce any rule?
okay, I get you, and I understand that, but contracts are contracts. If these schools want to keep some of these kids or get some of the buyouts, quit giving these 1-year deals. And you know why they give these 1-year deals? Because when they tired of you, they want to get rid of you. And if they give you a 2-year deal, then guess what? They can't run your ass out the door when they want to. So, the schools can sit up here and cry, there's no guardrails, but guess what? You really don't want the damn guardrails because you want to do what you want to do. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
correct. Absolutely.
It's just like right now, we want to put everything off on the athlete. You got kids that sign contracts in December, and here in May, the schools are coming back renegotiating. Well, you just gave me a contract in December. It's supposed to go from December to December.
Exactly.
But now you're coming back because I didn't have a good spring or whatever the situation is.
Whatever.
And now you want to cut me.
Does it matter what the reason is? If they can cut you for whatever reason, why can't they leave for whatever reason? Now, I'm not telling you that I love this for college football. I love the name on the front too, right? We all love the name on the front of these jerseys. We do. The point is, though, we sit here and we act like it's players that are being the ones that are being greedy. And in this case, they're piling on Nico's family for just like what we talked about earlier. They're piling on that family because Tennessee's able to. They planted all that information. They got it stirred up, and Nico's dad screwed up telling him not to go to practice on Friday.
He bit.
Yeah. Had it not been for that, he goes into the portal on Wednesday instead. Nobody says anything.
Nobody says a word. He goes to practice. He plays in the spring game or whatever they have, and then the next week he hits the portal, and this situation is totally different. It's totally different because they're looking at him now. Oh, so you sat out on your team? That just doesn't look good. You didn't practice. I mean, it's like you holding out a training camp, pretty much. It's what it's like. But if you go and do everything, and you say, "Hey guys, I want to go back home. I'm going back home," it wouldn't have been nothing said. But it's how you handle it. What Big Worm say? It's the principalities, Craig.
Well, the big winner in this is UCLA.
So what now?
I say the big winner in this is UCLA.
They won.
It's going to help jumpstart their recruiting because they that big program has been laying dormant for about 5-10 years. So
yes. I mean, it has its moments that with Chip's done a pretty good job the last few years before he left, but I mean they don't put enough money into it, and they haven't had a reason for boosters to get excited about it either.
Well, this might be the chance.
Yeah,
having
they are blue blood in basketball, right? So they play in the Rose Bowl, so they at point in times they do like to win, But I would say you would actually be jump starting a program with who your quarterbacks are for probably the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at what I mean,
and they homegrown boys now,
right?
Yeah, no doubt. And
so
I mean,
to attract other athletes.
Yes,
those guys run deep, and they're on the West Coast, so it's probably kids that were probably going to Oregon or somewhere else. They may stay home in LA and
Well,
go
they
to
end up
LA.
getting real NIL deals too from LA because of the fact that they're homeboys.
And
Not
then,
just that,
yeah,
but
exactly right, Jason. They get a chance to really make more money
yeah,
because
Look at
they're
Caleb Williams. He was
homeboys.
making $10 million outside of what he was doing with USC, outside of the collective, and he was making a lot through them, but he was getting $10 million in NIL deals that were national NIL deals just because he was in LA.
Talking about
Yeah,
Caleb Williams, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Nico could do the same thing, man. Just because of his name,
He goes
he's a
out there and throws up
homeboy.
3,500 yards this year.
Oh man, he
It's
can make
on.
another. He can make another 3 to 5 million off the field.
easy.
He
And
couldn't make that. He couldn't make that at Tennessee. Everybody is saying that he's the loser. You know,
no,
he lost because of this right
Maybe
here.
for the
But
moment.
people,
Maybe for
for
the
the
moment.
moment, but people don't realize
on a
when he
sticker
goes.
price.
Well, on the sticker price, exactly. But when he go back home and start adding the damn accessories to that damn truck, then it goes up.
But in a grand scheme, his brother can really be the big winner because you got to think the opportunities that the Olympics in 28 is going to bring. So it's going to
Oh
be even
man,
more opportunities and a lot of money swinging around in the second largest
yeah.
market in the country.
So the people that's doing all this math and putting it on, you know, putting it on Facebook and putting it on the gram and putting it on YouTube, y'all haven't looked at the big picture. The big picture is how much money is he gonna make out there in his market that's in LA. This LA, man. Come on. LA, you're gonna make money.
Oh, yeah. There's a river of money through there.
There's a river of money going through there, bro. So you don't make that kind of money in Tennessee, guys. And look, how do we not know this? How do we not know this? How did he not say, "Well, Tennessee, look, I got a chance to go back home, and I might not make as much money, but I can make more money, NIL money. You know, my value is more than $2.2 million.
Which is why I said you can say what you want about his play last year as a true freshman. They went to the playoff, by the way, and you can say it wasn't on him. You can do all that shit if you want to, but the truth of the matter is, if and I truly believe that there was at least part of the demands that he wanted was change this offense to where it better suits my game, get me some more guys. And since you didn't do that, I do want all that damn money because you didn't bring in guys that are going to help me go to another level here.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying they didn't try to. It's just
But
that
they didn't do
there's,
it.
but there's a lot of other schools out there like Ohio State and Notre Dame and Texas. The people that got some lot bigger bags to
I'm just saying
throw
again that
around cash
don't
than
forget who
Tennessee.
don't forget who sent us off on this NIL clusterfuck.
Oh, it was Tennessee.
It was.
It was Tennessee when they went to court over the NIL and the kids to make money, and that's because
And it was over
this is
Nico,
not
by
what
the way.
NIL.
It was
Yeah,
over
it was.
Nico.
It
Yeah.
was over Nico because here's the thing: everybody know that's not what it intended to be. That's not what it intended to be. They went to court, they fought it, they won. Nico was able to get his money. They was able to do what they do. Now it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, to be honest with you. Because I could see Nico saying, "Hey, look, I got some endorsements out here in California that's willing to pay me big time money. Can y'all help me get that endorsement in Tennessee?" Like, no, we can't do that. Well, man, if y'all can't do that, I need 4.4 mil. Well, we can't do that. Well, I can't play here if y'all can't do that because my value back in LA is much more. So I think it had to be something along that line because there was nobody else in the conversation when he left, pretty much. It was pretty much straight UCLA in the conversation. So that tells me there had to be some talk going on about his money and what his value was if he came back home. And a lot of people is not even thinking about that. They just thinking about, well, Tennessee don't have state tax and he lost this. Well, guess what? Your little little whatever Jason be calling it. But anyway, they gotta understand it's a bigger picture that family was looking at. Was it handled the right way, I don't think so.
Hey, do that again. Say that again. What you said a second ago.
I forgot.
You said, "Oh, they don't have to pay no state tax or nothing."
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
But this is something that has to be revisited at the end of the season to
Yeah.
see who the
I think
winner
right now
is.
Did he lose off of what he was going to make just in regular money? Sure. Plus the taxes. Sure. Plus it, as Jimmy says, it costs a river of money to live there. They've lived there their whole life. I think he was over $1 million. I think he lost $1 million in just money, regular money, I think.
But what will he make up?
But what can he make up? Now, you got to go out and perform. You're betting on yourself if you're doing this, in which,
dude,
you kind of had to do that anyway.
Dude, think about it, man. He's going to put up numbers.
They got to get him some
regardless
they
of
got to get
what
him some weapons, just like Tennessee needed to get him some weapons. And it's not like they have to go up against all the best defenses in the country. I mean, they're playing in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm not going to discount the Big Ten like that.
They're trash.
Oh, no. I'm not.
They're trash, but Ohio State, Michigan, the last two.
Hold on. At the top, just look at the rest of the league. Don't start that with me, Mikel.
Look, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate of this, but at the end of the day,
I knew this shit was coming.
At the end of the day, though,
you are trash. The conference from top to bottom.
SEC show, Mikel.
Hey, conference from top to bottom.
Look, I get all that, but at the end of the day,
I'm just saying, if you don't have to go through the best defenses in the SEC, and look, there's some that are really good. You deal with Michigan, you deal with your Ohio States, even your Oregons.
You don't have to play all of them.
They're not going to play all those teams. That's the point I'm making.
Right.
You're also going to play Minnesota and Illinois. Illinois is going to have a good defense, but Minnesota and Northwestern and Michigan State.
Come on, man.
Come on,
I'm not talking about them guys. You know
it, man.
But he gets to play them, though. That's the point. You can go out there and put up some numbers, probably easier than he could have at Tennessee.
Oh, definitely.
No, I'm not fighting with him. I'm just busting his chops. Mikel's
we're
trying to get Mikel. We're trying to get the next Mikel to go to Oklahoma, man. We boys.
He's going to Texas at 2 fights in one day.
Yeah.
Man, which crazy. But guys, real talk, when it comes down to it, I don't think he lost in this deal, because I think he can go.
It remains to be
put up
seen.
Big numbers.
It remains to be seen what happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, it does.
Go out and throw for 3,000 yards and see what happens then.
He go out and throw. If he throws for 3,000, he goes to the NFL the next year.
Well, his first test is going to be against Utah at home in the Rose Bowl.
So they've actually had Utah's number, and Utah was trash last year.
Mm.
And last year, UCLA was 5-7.
Yeah, they weren't good either. But I mean,
so 5-7, and you add Nico, they
were at 4.5 is the number, and they went up 1 with Nico. So 5-7, 6. Even if they go 6-6, it'd probably take him throwing for 3,000 for them to get to 7 wins.
Well, check this out. They open up at home against Utah in the Rose Bowl. They go on the road to UNLV. They at home against New Mexico. They go on the road to Northwestern. And then they got Penn State at home.
Yeah, they're going to get drugged by Penn State for sure. They'll probably lose to, man, UNLV's not a joke. That's y'all boy.
But they got teams they can match up with. They got Michigan State, Maryland, Indiana, Nebraska. All those are winnable games.
Yeah, they're very winnable.
They're Nebraska for sure. Nebraska for sure. I think. Huh? Yeah, Michigan State.
Northwestern. Northwestern is
trash.
With this schedule,
you called it the other day. Dumpster juice.
Dumpster juice.
If Nico can get them into a bowl game, that's a win for them.
Absolutely.
But their last 3 games is Ohio State, Washington, USC.
Listen, they right now they've had a good. I think since Lincoln got there, they've lost 2 out of 3 to UCLA.
Yeah, sure have. So I don't know.
Rivalry games, you never know. You know what I mean? And
Maybe I'll stay up and watch some of the games since I didn't watch the Colorado game.
Well,
maybe I just stay up and watch some of the
them
games.
being in the Big Ten is you don't have to stay up that much. They play all them damn noon games.
Yeah, they do play a lot of noon games, but what about the
They'll
home?
still have that Pac-12 after dark game. They have to. Yeah.
Well, that Utah game is at 8:30.
Their time.
Central time.
Central time. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a midnight game. That's a next day ball game. It gets over with. But that's what I love. I love that in college football. I'll watch any damn college football.
Oh, I can watch college football all day long.
Oh yeah, me too.
All day and night. I'll watch it until it's over with.
That's why we're here. Unless it's the Buffaloes.
Farouk did go to Maryland there, Miss Kimberly K. That's correct. Jalil Farouk.
Yeah.
Maryland is expected to be one of those contender for the next level down from the top.
Middle of the pack. Yeah, they middle of the pack.
Yeah, and hey, listen, Loxley, he's been a good coach for a long time. He takes bad jobs for whatever reason.
Yeah, he does. He's been doing that for the last 10 years.
He went to New Mexico and that didn't work because New Mexico's god awful. And then you got, I mean, Maryland, man, you had a pretty good deal being the OC at Alabama. But they did.
I would have stayed there. But like I say, guys.
Nico's head, she said.
She said, "What now?"
She said, "Well, then, off with Nico's head for the Maryland game." It's possible. Man. I don't think Maryland's. I don't think they're going to win all those games. But you can see them. Look, I would tell you that Dan Mullen is taking over a pretty good team. He left a pretty good team at UNLV. That's not a walkover.
No, and they didn't lose kids when he got there, like most programs.
And he picked up a lot of.
He picked up a
lot of cats from the SIP.
Yeah. He came. He been SIP man, heavy in the SIP.
Mm-hmm.
So that remains to be seen, man. I'm kind of rooting for Dan the man. That's me and Dan spent a couple.
He'll be out of there by year 3. You already know.
Yeah, we spent a couple times together, man. Dan is a required taste, bro. That's just who he is, But that joker no offense, man. And he knows quarterbacks. He
does.
Yeah, he developed, and even Cam Newton would tell you, Dan Mullen developed him. Dan developed him. He developed Tebow.
2 first round or number 1 picks.
Oh yeah. And then you got Dak Prescott. I mean, he has done really well with quarterbacks. And what was the kid name he had at Florida? That's in the league.
He's not doing very good in the league, but
I'm just saying he had
the kid at Indiana with the Colts.
Garoppolo, is that his name?
No, it's no.
It wasn't him.
No, it's man, the guy with the big cannon, but he can't hit. He can't hit a bull in the ass with a bass fiddle, though.
Damn. I ain't never heard that one.
That's a shout out to Sooner Legend. Free Sooner Legend, by the way.
What, they got him locked up or something?
Yeah, he got that outlaw college football's a.
Oh, okay.
That guy.
Man, that's
anyway,
crazy.
yeah, they did him. He did him dirty, man. They some kind of copyright infringement thing or something. But and it was them doing an actual stream together. You know how we stream on each other's platform.
Yeah.
He turned around and got him. It's such a trash move, man.
Yeah, man.
Trash move.
But guys, look,
haters, man, them haters.
Oh, they out there, man. They out there. And but before we get off the air, man, I want to talk about this one kid, man, that I've been knowing him ever since he was in the 5th grade, and he's at Mississippi State. Since we're talking about Mississippi State, and that's Aiden Williams, man, that transferred from Ole Miss over to Mississippi State, was a top 4-star receiver, played in the UA game. I mean, just a damn good athlete, man. I remember when he was playing linebacker with the Redskins down in Jackson. And that catch that he made Saturday, I mean, he went airborne and got that thing. And who threw it to him? Kamario Taylor. So I think he has, he's poking around the right bushes right now to get the guys that he need, for that program. Well, he has Selman there. Selman is his guy. Selman is going to keep him. He's going to help him, as much as he can to get the athletes that he need to get there. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time. When a program is in bad as shape as Mississippi State was, it's going to take time. I think they have moved into like the top 25 in recruiting for the 2026 class. So I think they're trending in the right direction. It's just going to take time. Yeah, the Ole Miss fans, they swear up and down that Mississippi State won't win a ball game. But I can tell you this. Hey, I can tell you this, guys. That doggone Egg Bowl never goes the way you think it's going to go. And I'm picking Mississippi State this year in the upset in the Egg Bowl because we hadn't had one in a couple of years, and it's due. It's due. And I think, with some of the guys that Lev has, I think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to win a ton of ball games. I'm going to go out on a limb and give them 5. If they get 5 this year, then that's great. And if they get 5 wins, I believe Mississippi State is trending in the right direction. And one thing about Mississippi State, they love to play homegrown. Mississippi last year in 2004, I believe, year 4 last, I think that was the biggest class that they had out of Mississippi, just Mississippi in-state kids that they signed. Now you got to realize that class was loaded with 4-star and 5-star talent. So, they went head on and they pulled the trigger on a bunch of them. But I can tell you, Jimmy said the cowbells are real. They loud as hell, bro. They loud. I can't, dude. I can't hardly. It's hard to stay in there, bro. I can tell you that. They're loud, man. But the way college football is right now, you have to give a coach 4 or 5 years because you fire him after 3 years, you're gonna lose your staff. You're gonna have to pay that coach a buyout, and you're gonna lose your players.
Well, let's not make no mistake about it, man. These guys, I mean, they brought in Lebby, and you got to figure part of that is to get Bryles and get his knowledge too.
No, I don't.
I'm not hating on Jeff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. He's a Sooner. What I'm saying is, what he doesn't know, he's gonna get that help. And I think, and
I agree with that.
But listen, here's where they've been smart. Here's where they've been smart. We talked about Coach Prime earlier. People bitched and talked a lot of shit about Coach Prime. But when you look at this, at what they've done with the portal, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of 11 pencil in starters right now are from the portal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And obviously you could end up with Kamario instead or whatever, but they're all portal guys. A bunch of seniors, a bunch of juniors. Juniors and seniors are what will allow you to actually make a big jump. Does it not?
Yeah, and a lot of those portal kids.
They've got grad transfers, 1, 2, 3, 4 grad transfers in that supposedly starting line.
It's like 3 of those kids, or they're not from Mississippi. I think some of those kids are from Mississippi.
Yeah. A bunch of them are from Mississippi. Here, let me add it.
Aiden, you got the transfer tackle. It's a lot of other kids, man.
And we're just talking about from the offense, obviously, right now.
Yeah, offense side of the ball, yeah.
Yeah. But so if you look at you've got let me pull this over here so I can mess with it. All right. Starting at receiver, you got Marcus Allen, Aiden Williams, Brendan Thompson. He's obviously coming from Oklahoma. Jesse Ramil, Jacoby Jackson, Carson Lee, Trevor Mayberry at right tackle. Seydou Traore, man, that guy, he's a stud too, right? Blake Shapen, obviously coming over from there, but Devon Booth as well. But I mean, you've got a bunch of guys. I mean, you can go through and look at. I mean, I don't know how many of these guys are from Mississippi. You guys would know better than me.
And then, guys, check this out. They got one of the
defensively. It's kind of the same thing. Look at all these juniors and seniors.
But check this out too, guys. They got probably the best running back in the 2025 class. I don't give a damn what his ranking is.
The 26 class?
2026.
JJ Hill? Yeah.
Yes.
If they can hold on to JJ Hill, what would 5 or 6 wins do for Mississippi State if you get a guy like JJ Hill and Kamario is firing on all cylinders next year?
If JJ goes to if he holds on and goes to state, he plays as a freshman.
Without a doubt.
He starts as a freshman. And you talking about a good run, and kids in Mississippi start seeing, you got to go back to the Jackie Sherrill era. Jackie believed in, kids from here. And same, so did Dan. Dan had a T-shirt saying, "This is our state." You remember that? You remember when he used to have that? So if you go and start getting kids from Mississippi, then that's what you're gonna have, bro. Because you look at the census per capita, Mississippi always gonna be in the top 3 in the country when it comes to NFL talent. So it's there. You talk about guys that you got Fletcher Cox, you got Jones with the Chiefs, you got Darius Slay who played ain't no telling how many Super Bowls. You got Jeffrey Simmons. You got just a plethora of guys.
Gary Green was in the league.
Yeah, Green in the league, and you got Willie Gay, Super Bowl guy right there. I mean, Mississippi State has had some really good guys, man. You got Dak Prescott. Now they hadn't had a whole.
A lot of people talk shit about Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott came in and won that job from Tony Romo and hadn't let it go yet.
Yeah, and so the thing about it is,
Cowboys suck, but it ain't because of him, really.
Right. State have, in the last few years, they have had some really good players, man. They have had some really good players, and they have had some good draft picks.
Zach Arnett turned them into. I mean, it's lucky they're lucky they only let him stay for a year. Because damn, imagine what he would have done in 2 years. Oh my goodness.
Well, here's the thing: you took an offense that you didn't know anything about it, and that was one of your reasons you say you let the offense, you turned it upside down. But you had Mason Miller, who was the offensive line coach, had been with Coach.
Plus, you had a quarterback that had been with him, and it was an all-time leading. Come on, man.
So you had guys, man. It was just the arrogancy. Is this my program, and I'm gonna run it the way I want to, and that's cool. But you didn't have the type players.
He did that right. He worked himself right out of ever being a head coach again, probably.
Right. Well, I think he went somewhere else he went to Ole Miss, and I don't know where he's at now. But he left Ole Miss. Yeah, he left.
Man, he's a hell of a defensive coach. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is this right here. If Leb get the kids in Mississippi and get the kids in Mississippi to buy in to what's going on, and they used to be really big on JUCO guys. Montez Sweat, all those guys that played, JUCO, they came in there and got out of there in the first round. If they could go back to doing some of those things, then I think they could be successful again.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is, are they spending the money that Ole Miss is spending? No. They're not spending that kind of bread. And before we get off the air, you want to just touch on Ole Miss a little bit. Ole Miss is a mystery team too. They don't have 11 kids that are gonna get it drafted on this. They got 11 kids that probably gonna get drafted in the upcoming draft.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that right now in that roster. They don't have a Walter Nolan. They don't have Trey Harris. They don't have those type of kids. The safety is
Well,
supposed to go.
but they have a bunch of juniors and seniors and grad transfers and guys like that. That
Well,
if you can get them all to come together.
So did Florida State had it too. They had that last year.
Well, I'm not saying bad things about it. I'm saying you have an opportunity here if you do make the right decision at quarterback. And look, I would, just like I said, not to kill Blake Shapen, but the hook has got to be short. Kamario is dynamic.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. I mean, the kid is a great kid. Like I said, man, what I like about him most is I have seen him get better from playing 7 and 8 U football up until now. I seen the progress.
He could be the next best thing in this league. Think
Yeah.
about the SEC 2 years down the line. You're gonna be talking about a guy like Kamario Taylor.
Yeah. He could do similar things that Dak Prescott did.
Well, and obviously the hope if you're Mississippi State is that they can keep him.
Yeah.
Because you go have a big season, the Sharks are going to circle.
Well, here's the thing with him. I think there is enough people in the Start Vegas area that will keep him. Now, they might not have enough to keep 4 or 5 guys that were superstars, but they got enough to keep that one guy. And like I said, this is a hometown kid. So the same thing that happens, in other regions, it can happen to Kamario. He can get a deal in Starford with a company. He can get a deal with, some of the businesses. You got like Mossy Oaks. You got all kind of stuff that's here that he can actually reach out and say, hey, look, State said, look, I need to get him some more money. We don't have this in our collective. Let's get him an NIL deal over here, over there. That's what being a hometown boy. That's what happens. You can actually, your money can stretch further when you're from the hometown and you got roots and people. And they're pulling. You're from Starkville. He's from Knoxville. October in Knoxville County, they butt up. So he will be able to get some of those deals that, they probably wouldn't be able to get in some other places. So I think he's in a hell of a place. I think he thought about all that stuff when when he was being recruited by Georgia, and turning down Georgia and staying in Mississippi State. And of course, his uncle was Kroon's quarterback, Omar Connor, and so I think he has a big influence, on Kamario. And actually, I think he was one of the biggest influence on Kamario staying in Starkville. And just being a former quarterback in Starkville and knowing some of the alumni and being a coach himself, because he's still at Hines. I think he's the OC at Hines Community College. But just having that family around him and saying, hey, look, Starkville where you need to be. This is home. This is family. They're going to take care of you. And you think about Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons had chances to go to a lot of different places. I know it's two different positions, but he chose to stay at home, and it worked out for him. Everybody doesn't choose to stay at home. Well, we know that, but here's the thing with Mississippi State, the state Mississippi State is in right now is not the state they was in 2 years ago when Arnett was on his way out. And did Ole Miss capitalize off it? Hell yeah, they capitalized off of it. But I think that's slowly deteriorating right now. If you're a Mississippi State fan, you got a lot to look forward to. I think they got a lot to look forward to. I think they got a good quarterback. I think they got
Jeff Lebby, man. He's a Sooner. He's a Sooner. You always got to look at him love, man.
So
and
those
Selman too, man.
Now,
name is royalty around Norman, bruh.
Yeah, man. So like, yeah, but like I say, I appreciate everything. Who is that? Coach Dan? I'm not a State fan. I'm an Alcorn State fan. That's why I play ball at. So
he's a fan of those Mississippi kids, though, and
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the Mississippi kids. Number one, that I got so many kids, that had played for me. That played at State or whatever situation is. So you got to root for the kids to come through your program. I don't care where they are, and that's just kind of what we do,
You
man.
don't.
But
You
like I
gotta
said,
root for
man,
all
look,
these kids, bro. You know what I mean? You
got
gotta
to
root for
root
all.
for them, man. That's a part of it. But like I
Unless
say,
your name is Jackson Arnold. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud.
oh man, we're gonna get ready to get out of here, man. Jason, before we get out of here, man, let us know what let everybody know where they can find you at. Everybody pretty much knows, but go ahead and give you.
I'm hiding right now, bro. Ain't nobody gonna find me right now. No, it's Hall of Fame College Football on YouTube at HOF-CFB. That's at HOF-CFB, and then JW _HOF on Twitter as well. So, hey, thanks for having me on. It's always fun to talk ball. I'll talk ball about anybody. I love the SEC and love talking about some of these guys. One thing I was going to say, next week we'll be talking spring football in the SIP
Oh yes,
for high
sir.
school kids.
Yes, sir. We're gonna be out, man. Checking out some of the different schools. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the camp we got coming up at Jackson State on the 1st. Actually, I'm gonna shoot a video probably tomorrow on that. But yeah, we're gonna check out West Point, man. We got a couple new coaches around here in Houston and some of that deal, and might try to get down there to MC. I see you, man. I see.
Watch that stud
Yeah,
running
man.
back
Look,
over at Madison
look,
Central.
you got a
We
lot
were-
of you got a lot of coaches on Twitter, man, from Oregon to Ohio State to Oklahoma that will be in the SIP this week, man, because it's spring football. So we're gonna try to bring you some updates on the spring football that's going around in the SIP in this area, man. But other than that, hey, Mikel, man, what you got, man, before we get out of here, bro?
Man, I'm just going through the NIL collective in Tennessee, trying to see if they got any more money in there.
Look, you trying to hit a vein, eh? Hey, look, always, man, it's good to have you guys. And look, everybody's out there, man. Look, hit that like button for me. If you want to help me out, hit the like button, subscribe, man. We'll appreciate it. That's one way we can, kind of keep everything rolling. You gotta hit that like button. I don't know how many people in the chat today, but if you're in the chat right now, go ahead and hit that like button. We appreciate it. And
Listen, had a lot of people on the Twitter stream, so you had, we've got a lot of people on the Twitter stream. Right now, we have a total of almost 300 people watching. Only a few of them are on YouTube, but over 100 on both Twitter streams. And then I even sent us out to the Rumble world to see what that would do, and we got 33 people watching us in there. So it's hey man, getting it out there, and guys, make sure that you are subscribed to the Gridiron Insight.
Please.
We're gonna make sure that we kind of start shaping this, the content to kind of help the algorithm for him. But this is a fantastic channel, man. A fantastic channel. So make sure you get over here and watch a lot. Check out all the stuff they've done in the past, and become a subscriber, man. And hit that bell. So it's important.
Well, guys, we're finna get out of here, and always, guys, you know what the deal is. Peace.